Hi there, I'm Mahibi and I'm the C Coach, and welcome to part one of the coaching approach to successful assignments. Now, throughout this presentation, I'm highlighting how a professional external resource, the coach, can support an individual throughout the assignment. And for the next few videos, we'll be looking at the pre-move stage. Now, it's an important point to consider that indeed we could use a coaching approach even before the decision has been made that this particular person is right and ready for the big commitment and change in their personal and their work life. Now, I'm talking about a coaching approach throughout the videos because we are all conscious and aware that not every organization has the budget to utilize a partnership of a coach at any particular point, or indeed throughout the whole process of the assignment. So here, what I'm sharing with you is an opportunity to adopt an approach or even a mindset where we put the person at the heart of the process, albeit that some points are directly linked to an external resource being the coach. However, there are tangible actions that can be integrated into your existing policies and the assignment process overall. And we're looking at the impacts that the current process is having on the individual and their wider family. And we're looking to improve the as is. We're not just considering what's happening pre-move right now, we're also planning for what is going to come. So we are setting up the success of the assignment even at this stage of the pre-move, so that at the end of the assignment, that person, they'll return to their home country, they'll repatriate, and at that point, there is a return on investment for both the individual and the organization. This is about solid, robust career path planning and alignment to the organization. So we are creating value for the business so that we don't lose key talent, and indeed measuring for success. So looking at within a particular time frame of repatriation that we are not losing the talent that we are repatriating. So in part one, we are going to look at the key considerations before the move. And these can be applied not only to assignments, but also to permanent moves. And firstly, we're going to look at the mental health pillar. So this is the pillar that the coach proactively safeguards. Secondly, we are looking at the period of exploration around what's important to the individual, the family, and work-related topics. Thirdly, is defining what's important to the individual, including how this move aligns to their values and indeed the values of the organisation. Fourthly on the agenda is understanding what a great outcome looks like. And lastly, we will look at the roles of the coach and the organisation as sponsor to the coaching, but also as a sponsor to the entire assignment process. And by doing so, we're looking at how a coaching approach shines a light on the value of the individual and their family. We're putting their well-being and their mindset at the heart of the process to maximize our chances of a successful assignment. We're looking to maximize a return on investment. And indeed, what does a successful assignment look like for the individual? So in this particular video, we are going to cover the first point, the mental health pillar. So let's take a look at the mental health pillar, keeping in mind there's two scenarios of change for HR and globability. We've got an assignment and we have a permanent move. So we've got two scenarios or two case studies of change that we can apply the value of a coaching approach. So what do we mean by mental health? It's a term present in all spheres of our life. Simply put, it's the state of health of somebody's mind. Let's break that down. That includes our emotional and psychological and social well-being. It affects how we think, how we feel, our decision making, our behaviours, and our actions. It also supports us when we need to deal with a new challenge. It helps us to manage stress, connect and relate to others, and it supports our ability to make healthy choices. Now, we know that making the decision to move and take your entire family with you to a foreign culture, to a new geographical destination, a new lifestyle, away from friends and family, potentially outside of the same time zone and what's familiar to us, is not just scary, but it can open an emotional Pandora's box of fear, overthinking, questioning ourselves, questioning our own abilities, and we can experience a sudden attack of low self-confidence, low self-worth, low self-esteem. And this not only impacts our mental health, but it can impact our physical health. What if we experience a lack of sleep, lack of appetite? We have emotional and mental tiredness, exhaustion that's brought on by the overthinking. And this could all lead to irrational behavior and indeed decisions that don't feel good to us. The coach represents the consistent and reliable person that offers a safe and confidential space to share feelings, emotions, ideas, and options. It is so important to have the space, the time for a person to share what's going on for them, to reflect, to consider and process ideas, to understand what feels good, to understand what's important, and to identify, most importantly, what doesn't feel good, what is uncomfortable for them. You may have been in a situation where you have also felt relief, or you felt lighter if you are talking with friends or family and you've been able to share how you're feeling in regards to a particular problem. It's the same concept here. By labeling what's happening to the individual and labeling the stress, there's a physiological response that's happening in the brain. We are relieving the physiological response that is happening in our body. So the coaching approach supports the individual and both their mental and physical health. Another point here is considering what is ethical. Can an internal resource be completely non-biased and non-judgmental, especially where they know the individual? Do they have an existing relationship? And can they also act in the best interest of the organisation, depending on what their role is? How likely is a person to be truly open if they feel the organisation is judging them, if they feel that information could get back to a particular person? The coaching approach does allow the emotional support, but we also are allowing the individual to process options and what are important to them. We are allowing a way forward that's based on aligning the values of the individual to the organisation. In the next point that's already up here, there's something sacred about the relationship between the coach and the individual. How are we going to provide on-hand professional support that proactively addresses the mental health and the well-being of an individual? It's so important that we can show empathy, we can show compassion in the times that are low. It's important to show encouragement and celebrate with that person when things are on a high, and to acknowledge what's important for them. And this connects here to the last point. Having an external professionally trained resource that has no connection to the business allows a development, the growth, the learning of an individual without bias or judgment. Now, there is a conflict with the organisation that what they might be deemed or what they might see as a development point or a celebratory opportunity for the person is not necessarily so for them within the organisation. An example, during the negotiation process of, say, the salary or the benefits, any additional resources that might be required on the ground, budgets requested throughout the process. If HR or global mobility is part of this process for the person to consider these elements, where does their loyalty lie? The individual needs to feel that they are seen and heard, even if the outcome isn't what they're looking for. So it's the process of that coaching approach, providing them the space, supporting and allowing them to explore their ideas, to experience wins and losses in a non-biased and empathetic way that's important for the person. And indeed, depending on what is shared by the individual, how can this remain confidential with an internal resource who may feel their own conflict of interest? So grab your pen and paper and let's look through some reflective questions together. So firstly, is anyone, and if so, who, is adopting this coaching approach, the role of the coach, to support individuals going on assignment or relocating permanently right now in your organization? Reflecting on their role or the situation, what are the barriers to being fully present with that individual in a non-biased and non-judgmental way? Does the role of coach cross any personal or professional boundaries for the acting internal resource? Next, looking at the pre-move stage, how is the organisation overall supporting the mental health of their assignees and indeed their families in regards to impacts there as well? Next, what is missing that could easily be integrated into existing global mobility and immigration policies? So what's your quick wins? And lastly, what are the key action points that could be defined? Perhaps they are mini projects, big projects, maybe they require wider collaboration across the organisation. But how can we improve the assignee experience and set up and maximise for return on investment on repatriation at the end at this point of the pre-move stage? I'm Mahibi. I've taken you through part 1.1, mental health pillar, in the part of the key considerations before the move, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.